Welcome back, fellow shop rats. Today we're back on the Stitches Challenger and doing something a little bit different.
I thought Challenger moves under its power for the first time. Yes.
I thought it would be really cool to do just a bit of a project update. Where we're at, where we've been.
Dodge Challenger. Just going to give it a little look over here. See what the project looks like to start with on the outside at least. This quarter panel is going to need to be replaced. The door obviously has a big dent in it. Fender is good, so that won't be a problem. But the main thing here that I've got to deal with is the roof. You can see that an elephant or something sat on it, and I need to get that knocked back up where it belongs so that it's not holding water like it is right now.
And where we're going. Still feeling under the weather, and I was hoping to be able to accomplish something today, but I can't. And so I thought, well, I can't stand laying around the house doing nothing. I need to do something, and this is what we're doing today. So pull up a cup of coffee and let's just review the Stitches Challenger.
This is my car's shop.
This part right here is where it all started. I made that trunk floor support / gas tank strap mount. That was the very first piece that I hand fabricated.
Back here to the leaf spring part by hand. Also over on this side once I get to that, although this side isn't as bad. Here's what we've got now. Got the frame rail cleaned out. I'm going to be replacing a huge chunk of that. Might even be replacing more. Talk about something else there. One of these braces I think is usable. The other one I'm probably going to replace. I think the one on the left I'm going to go ahead and make another one. Okay, so I only have one J-bolt for the tank, but it's enough to hold the tank up in place. And everything lines up beautifully. I'm very happy with it. No interference problems at all. So good to go. Just like that, she's done.
You know, it's not terribly pretty, obviously. It's got some booger welds and so forth, but my philosophy is if you can't see it, why worry about it? It's going to be under the floor pan. The tank is going to be up against it. It's strong. That's all that matters to me. Remember, the motto here is make it safe, make it done, and go have fun. I could spend another 20 minutes grinding welds, but that's 20 minutes I'm not working on something else. So once that was done, the next step was we made this frame rail here. Now, this frame rail was made from here to here. The next step here in the process is to measure out where the cut is, because this frame actually isn't perfectly straight from the rear up to the hoop. It comes down and then bends up. And I measured it out on the car, and it's 11¼ inches to where this does its buckle. I decided that since I'm going to be solid welding on the end here, just a couple of holes here is going to be more than enough for what I'm doing. I may rethink that. I may do. So I have things tacked in place. Looking good. Got a few little goobers there I got to clean up on some weld, but no big deal. Got a little blob there and a blob there, but not a problem. But very happy with the way this turned out. Obviously have a lot more welding to do, but it's turning out really nice. Here and from here to here, this piece of the frame rail was good, and I still do need to go back and dress this up, but I was waiting to get it on the rotisserie because there was no point laying on my back under the car grinding it all. So I do need to go back and touch that up a little bit, but this is made out of 18 gauge sheet metal. It's double layered. So we'll get this as close to 90 as we can. I may be able to go all the way with this, I don't know. But when you're doing C channels, yep, we'll be able to. It's short enough that, okay. Massage it a little bit, but overall I'm happy. And my sides aren't perfect, and I don't care because I'll show you where this goes. Okay, so here's where this is going to go that I just bent. It was between. So I'm ending up having to make this piece of frame rail in multiple pieces. This curvature in here, there we go. This curvature in here, I need to be able to put that in the shrinker stretcher. And that's not going to work because if you see here, I've got this piece, and putting this in, and I measured this out, I can't get it in there because it's not wide enough. So I have to have a minimum of something that is over 2.5 inches wide. And like I said, at the top it might work, but as I come down further, it's not going to. So I've thought a lot about what I'm going to do, and it's actually going to work out really well. I'm going to make myself a couple of pieces that are L-shaped, about 3/4 by 3/4. I'll be able to put those in the shrinker stretcher, one for each side, and then I'll make a strip to go down the middle that'll follow that contour and weld all of those 3 pieces together to make that. And so I can't emphasize enough, test fit, test fit, test fit, test fit, test fit, and I'm really happy with the way this is looking. I have the one side done, and I'm not unhappy with that at all. So now I need to do exactly the same thing for the other side. So I'll basically be making this in mirror image to go over there. So the next step in the process now is to tip the top edges of those frame rail sides so that we have those 3/4 inch flanges where the floor attaches to the car. So I had mentioned that I was going to be getting wanted to get the motorized unit for the bead roller, but it wasn't really in the budget. Well, I found a much higher quality unit to do that. And so here's the high quality motorized unit. Much better way to go as far as I'm concerned. So let's get after these frame rails. Okay, good. Good. I'm just going to follow the bead line. That's good. It's okay. I've got a lot of tension on it, but I'm just trying to get a bead line laying on it right now so that we have something to follow. Okay. Urethane wheel came off because I didn't have it on far enough, so okay, go ahead. Okay, so we got the first one pretty much done. Got a nice tip angle on it. It's really tough on the bead roller to roll this metal because it's so thick. But the thing with metal is, remember, don't be in a hurry. Take your time, little taps. Push the metal the direction you want it to go. Remember, metal is like clay, and you want to just push it. Looking good. That's going to be pulled back together again by the piece underneath, so I'm not worried about that at all. But it looks good. I'm real happy with it. So I'll start constructing this now with the pieces I have done, and we'll go from there. Just beginning the test fit now, and it does exactly what I hoped it would do. Which allows me to go up past that and then start to come back in here and fit this in there where it needs to be so I can tell how to join the two together. So the next step that you can't see, but I'll get you down here, is to look at how this is going to join together with the other frame, and then start trimming back the old frame and the new frame to commit that marriage that I was talking about. All right, so the next step is to buzz this off, and then I want to begin to trim this back to where I want to join. And the frame is spread open, so it'll slide up over this. Once this is out of the way, we'll start to get a better feel for our alignment here. And then, as I mentioned, all of this up here is cleaned up now, so that frame slips through as you saw from the other side. It's just one of those, it's like a logic puzzle. I think if I bend that down a little bit, probably it's going to make a difference in it getting up over where it needs to be there. All right, let's get her. Once that one was done, because this frame rail was rotted out here terribly, and up here was gone. Once that one was done, then we tackled the big one, making this entire frame rail, again, hand fabricated out of. So the piece of metal is 10 inches wide that I bent that other frame rail out of. I found that in the video. I found a picture of the piece of cardboard and I screenshotted it. So it's 3/4 of an inch wide. So 3/4 like that. Hopefully you can see this. 3 1/4 down, 2 inches across, 3 1/4 up, and then 3/4. So flattened out, that's 10 inches wide, of course, by 3 feet is what it's going to be to fit my brake. I'll double check the dimension to make sure 3 feet is an accurate dimension. And the other thing that I found in the video as a reminder was, don't bend these two bends here 100%, only bend them about 60% to start. Alright, so it worked really well, better than the last side because I have more experience. As you can see, I didn't go 100% straight. You can see that. So I will finish that in a different way, and I haven't determined what it's going to be yet. But I wanted to be able to get these bends here, and you can see these are pretty well perpendicular, 90 degrees to the sides. So I think that's good. I think this one actually turned out better than the other one. So the main thing we need to do is get this squeezed together, and then there may be a little bit of tweaking to do. We had to do that on the other side. Of course, with this one being as long as it is, that's going to provide a bit more of a challenge. But I got a couple ideas how I'm going to finish squeezing this down. So should be pretty easy to do. So what I was talking about is I want for strength, if you're going to do these sheet metal frames, you need to have a good overlap. And if you've seen the other episodes, you'll see that I've created a lot of overlap in the frame as I've pieced when I did the one on the other side. So our next steps will be to get this laid out on sheet metal, get it cut out. I have to obviously allow that 3/4 of an inch more up here on the template so that I can tip the edge. And I'll get Becky out to help me tip the edge again like she did last time. I talked to her about it. We were thinking about doing it this weekend, but both of us have felt a little bit under the weather this weekend and we're both just a bit tired. So 3 passes, and you can see we're starting to get some need for shrinking and stretching in here. So actually this up here is already pretty much at a 90, but that's because it's a nice straight area. We've got most of the shrinking and stretching done. There's a little stuff in here, but you put them together and they're sorry, I'm shouting. They're pretty good. I just need to hammer and dolly this one down. You can see it's just a bit high. So I've got my block here and I'll go in and start peening that over a little bit. I don't think I need to put that back in the bead roller to move it. I can, but I think I can move this by hand. As a matter of fact, I think last time I did it on the wooden block, so I may end up doing that. And Duddy, that wooden block is a piece of hardwood, so that's not the pine persuasion. So when we were done with the back of this car, we were at a point then that we felt it was strong enough to be able to put it on the rotisserie. Oh, one more thing that I did. I had forgotten that we had some body flex in this car because this quarter panel was so rotten and the inner structure inside was bad and the wheel house was bad. So we stitched all that back together, hung this Sherman quarter panel on it, as well as in here we hand fabricated this trunk floor extension that goes over from here to the out towards the quarter and then down around into the quarter panel. But what we're going to do is tip this edge here that we traced out and just get that done first, and then we'll get the quarter panel put up where we can look at it and start test fitting things and make sure that everything is good. Not being very successful. So we got it lined in here. You can see how close it is to matching the edge on this quarter panel. If you come over this way, you can see it. So it's done very well. This edge is not tipped quite as much as it should be. This is maybe tipped a little bit too much, but the main thing I'm looking for right now is the fact that the edge is tipped and it goes up that direction. So the next thing we need to do now, there's supposed to be a little wow in here that I will just cut in to adjust that. But the next thing we need to do then is band this edge down here from here to here.
So then the next thing we need to do is make a little trim down here so that this edge falls in against this where it's supposed to. Everything looked good, and we have this awesome bead roll operator. The next step will be obviously putting it in the car when we're mounting the quarter panel and all that goes with that. There's work that needs to be done yet on the wheel well, etc., but we're not quite ready to cut the old quarter panel off and get this in there. But okay, so we got the top piece of our hand-built trunk panel extension here. Kind of down in there, wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Okay, so we got a little trimming to do, and I got a little figuring to do. Okay, so you get a good feel now for what that looks like in place. We've got a little work to do on the contour up there, which I knew we would have. It doesn't quite follow the curvature, but that's okay. I'm not worried about it. It's a little bit of a tighter radius. I'm going to bend it back here, and I want to make sure that I'm bending it the right way, of course. Put some slack. So that'll be fun. I like the challenge. I can tip that edge by myself, I hope. If not, it'll have to wait till Becky gets here, but I'm going to try it. It is a little bit short right there. I kind of just didn't quite go far enough, but I've got a plan for that, so I'm not going to worry about it. I should have made. So it's all buttoned up. I'm not going to grind it more than that. It's not necessary. I'll take it over and get it put in the car. Pretty good. I could grind it a lot more, but it's good enough for now. I'm just going to go ahead and shoot that with some primer probably, and then we'll hit that with some satin black and call it good for today.
So we hand fabricated all of that as well before we could put it on the rotisserie. The other thing that we did before it was on the rotisserie was go through and get the rear seat pan area all taken care of so that we could get these subframe connectors in before we put it on the rotisserie. So all of that work was also done before it was put on the rotisserie.
Hold that whole plate because it's a big piece that goes all the way over here. But all we have to do now is just cut this, and this whole piece should come loose. Cut in here and down and this way. I'll cut up behind that a little bit probably, but that's where it's kind of got to go. I want to leave myself plenty of overlap so I can cut to fit. Just going back and forth a few times, keep cranking it down. Gonna have a little hammer and dolly work to do, and that's okay. And I would say good enough. Use the tools I have rather than buying more. That will fit right in there nicely, and that'll make a nice piece, so I can trim that around a little bit. So I've got everything laid out on there for the most part, except where the bead goes. Now we've got to decide how I'm going to bend this, because we have complex bending, obviously, where we have to bend it this way and this way. It's looking pretty good. I've got to do some modification down here. The bending didn't work exactly the way I wanted as far as on this side, but that's going to be easy enough to just take and fabricate a piece to put in there. Just weld that in. That'll literally take 5 minutes. All I need to do is trim this edge. Hopefully you can see that. This edge up here, over, a bit so this whole thing shoves over, and then I'll be able to trim this into place here so that we can weld that together. And just roll the bead in there. I'll get it up as close to that edge as I can without going all the way over. Go back and forth a few times. This piece kind of attached to the floor where it goes, where I determine I want it, probably about right there. Tack, tack, tack. We'll have to do some cutting and fitting, but it's roughed together then, and we basically have one whole half of this floor pan kind of just tack welded together, and then we can start finishing it, making it pretty. So yeah, it's looking pretty good. You know, it's all rough right now. Don't expect anything to be beautiful here. The whole point of this is just to start getting things tacked together and fitting it in the car. So that's a good step. Lots of welding, cutting, fitting, grinding, and so forth to do, but overall looking pretty good. We'll put it in the car, and there's a lot of runs right in there, but makes it look worse than it is, but that's fine. Let's get it in the car and see what she looks like. Here we go, in the car. I'm going to put this on the stand, the tripod, and let you see just how strong it is, So when I push this down in place and get it down in here, and I can push it over in here, it's just tweaked a little bit, and that's not abnormal from the welding process. But point is, when I push down on that thing, it is just as rock solid can be.
That all was done. Then the car was structurally rigid, and it is super rigid now. And we were able to pick the car up and get it up on the rotisserie and start spinning it around, doing all of the other work that we needed to do.
Welcome back, shop rats. Today here in the shop, my buddy Mark is here to help us out. And we are back on the 70 Challenger, doing an episode that a lot of you have been waiting. Okay, so with a lot of effort and including trying to kill Mark, we finally got the car moved over here. And this is where it's a long story, don't ask.
Everybody's fine.
It's only 2.3 gallons of blood. It's not that big a deal. There's a couple safety things on the rotisserie I need to check out, but hopefully we're doing a lot of that tomorrow. I appreciate you. Gonna drive, what, 2 hours up here in the snow today.
Yeah, snow slowed me down a little bit, but didn't stop me. So it's all fine.
And it's cleared up now, so it should be a lot easier going home.
Yeah.
For example, all of these floor pans are all hand fabricated throughout this side of the car.
This is kind of a lot of lather, rinse, and repeat from before, but it's not also. So I just kind of went over there and just got a feel. These are not dimensions. We're going to use our tool, but just how this works. So we have the wide part here that's up, then it goes down into that 1 inch wide, then back up to that 2 inch wide, down to that 1 inch wide. Put our cuts in the end now like we've done before, so that we can line that up in the brake to bend it, both ends, so we can flip it and know where to line it up every time. So that'll be good. We'll go over to the brake. We'll have to do That'll fit down in there like that. It's plenty long. So, just like so. But we got to cut some off the end because it's a little long. Sorry, I should have had you over here sooner, but okay. So, I'm just trying to kind of sort of come up with, and I had some false starts, but I know it comes over within 1 inch of the frame rail. So that's fine there. may not be perfectly 45-degree angles, but it's a floor pan. I think it's pretty close. I went off with it. Okay, so I put that on the stretcher, stretched out that edge, and then dollied that edge up to kind of match that contour right there. This. So the next step is to, I think we're going to go ahead and bead our rolls or roll our beads down there. Once we get that done. All right, so we got our beads rolled in there now. So now we've got to, I think, cut out the other floor pan behind so we can start to fit that down in and start to get that end curved up. It's got a little warpage on this end, but I think when we bring that metal around to tie it into this floor pan the way we're going to, we should be all right. So looking good.
You know, this is like stretching for me, but it's got to be done because before I am allowing myself to move over and start on that side of the car and begin working our way back to there, which is that back there is done, so we need to get all of that done. I want to get all of this done here first, and we are like this close.
So let's go hammer form a piece of metal for that. I got a piece of metal kind of cut that's in similar shape. So now we got to bend it this way, and well, we just got all kind of stuff. So some of this. Just like that. I opted to not use the Pour 15 seam sealer just to save a little bit of money. This is all under seat area anyway, so I should have probably thought of that in here to save myself, you know, 15 bucks or so. But it's all seam sealed up, so we just got to wait for that to dry, and then we'll shoot that with some that black stuff there to make it look like the rest of that stuff there, and then that stuff there will be all done with that stuff there. So there you go, eh? What do you think of that stuff there? I'm sure a lot of you guys can do better, but the truth is, I am proud of that. I'm not going to apologize for it. It's a 318 car. It's nothing fancy. It's not a high dollar car. It was in a junkyard pile, and we're saving it one stitch at a time.
All of these floor pans are all hand fabricated, and they're not installed yet, but that's one of our next projects. As soon as I'm done with that $500 paint job and I'm feeling better, we'll be on that. We did get some of this work done. This rear pan is done. The rear pan on this side actually came out of, it was either a 71 up Charger or a Cuda, we're not sure, but the floor pan was just a little bit shorter, so we had to add a little extension in. So, yep, we're moving forward on that. The other thing we had to do was work on making the 4-speed hump because we didn't have one because this car was an automatic car. We're not totally done with that yet. Don't worry about where the shifter is. The tail shaft is falling down in there like that because it's just the tail shaft, not the whole transmission. Transmission's way too heavy. So we got a little dress up and finish up work to do there. But that's all done. We got the clutch, the automatic brake pedal out, and we test fitted the clutch 4-speed or the clutch pedal assembly, which we have for this car. Of course, we've done all of this dash work and preliminary kind of staging just to see what all it is. We have everything there now. We reconditioned the steering column for the car that we got out of Texas. Just a lot of work done. And one more thing we did also, somebody had taken and cut the transmission cross member and the hoop also, so we fabricated that from about here in and fixed all of that. And we got the shifter mounted. We tested all the 4-speed rods that we got from Brewer's Performance, all of that stuff. Everything on this car from this point forward was good, which is why I decided to go ahead and do this car. Of course, in recent episodes, if you've been around, we have straightened out and reinforced the roof bow. We have been working on getting that massive dent out of the roof without causing oil canning problems around in the rest of the roof, and we're well on our way. We're waiting for the epoxy to come right now so that we can glue the roof skin with a flexible adhesive, glue that to the roof bow, and then that will help support the roof, and we can take it further. You never want to mount that solid. You want some flexibility, and you never want to weld it, because if you do, you're going to end up with problems out on hot days. So you want something that's going to be able to move a little bit, and that 3M product is definitely one that will do that. So next week that epoxy will be in, and hopefully we can get after that. I plan to be painting that truck today, and my health didn't cooperate with that. So what's coming next on this car? I've been waffling back and forth on the trunk pan. Do I want to put that in the car while it's on the rotisserie or not? I'm still not sure. I've just got to do some more thinking about it. If we do that, we're going to have to pull this car forward. The truck will definitely have to be gone. But one step at a time, right? That's all we can do. Excuse me. We need to get the engine bay cleaned up and see its condition. We have a lot of rust in the cowl area. I'm undecided how I'm going to fix that yet. I'm thinking I may cut some pieces out, some big chunks of that cowl out, clean up underneath, get the holes patched up, get it all sealed up so it doesn't leak water in the car, and then weld it back together again. The windshield frame is actually pretty good, except for up in the corner on the driver's side, the upper corner. The rear window and the rear window pan, what do they call that? The sail pan, maybe, is the one right behind the window, between the window and the trunk. That's really bad. It was ironic because early on, when I first started working on this car in 2019, I got this car in August, I think it was, of 2019. And I started putting it on the channel, I think in September, was when I first started banging out the roof. So I've had a lot of suggestions on what I should be doing to this roof. Please understand that I have spent days and days straightening the roof out to get it to this point. A lot of shrinking and stretching and hammer and dolly and so forth. So this last dent that we're working on up there, I've done everything I can do. And that's why we sliced it in that last episode. And that's going to work. I was pretty confident it was. I really toyed with a cut and butt on that. But in talking to people, and this was my instinct as well, they said on a panel that big, it's not recommended, because even with a cut and butt, cutting out a patch and putting it is definitely not recommended. But even with a cut and butt, stuff can move around and you could end up with an oil canning problem that you may not be able to get out. So this was what I felt, cutting the slices in there was what I felt was the minimal risk. And so far that's proving true. The entire roof of this car was caved in almost a foot because there was a car sitting on top of it. My theory is that when the forklift driver took the forks out from under the car on top, he dug the heel of the forks right in here and dented that down, bent the roof bow in. We've already brought it up a lot. This was down about 1/4 of an inch or so after I did a lot of work to get it up. It was probably a 1/2 an inch, and I've got it up to 1/4 inch. If I take it any further, it starts oil canning over here. And it's just because of the pressure this puts on the metal. I've tried shrinking it in every way possible, and this is what's worked. I've brought this all the way up to where it almost belongs to be. Once I get the roof bow back in, we will go through and just do a little tacks on this, get it tacked together, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it over here and do the same thing, and we will get this out to within 1/8 of an inch. I know that's going to work. It already is working, and this was dented in so far I couldn't install the roof bow back in, and so the roof bow goes about here. So I think this is the best option. Once that's done, we'll go ahead and skim coat this roof with tiger hair, and then go over it and we'll sand that down to paper thin, and then we'll skim coat it with Bondo, sand that down to paper thin. We should be good to go. This is a vinyl top car anyway, so I don't care if it's perfect. I just want it to be done. So you can see we've got some work to do in here on the inner fender well. There's a little bit of work to do on the firewall. We've definitely got some work. I remember that this was rotted down in here, but that's no big deal to fix that. Of course, once we go start cleaning this up, it's going to be 10 times worse than we expect. We got some work to do down here. Down inside of here, like I said, there are some rust holes. I chose to I'm just going to cut some of this out up here and work on it and then put it back. That's a very acceptable way to do it to some people. To other people, the whole way I'm doing this car is not acceptable, and quite frankly, I don't care what they think. It's my car, and I do what I want with it. I purposely haven't taken the back window out yet, just because I just felt like it was best to leave it in there until I got further along. But we're going to have to take that out at some point. And we've got, like I said, this pan here, the bottom of the windshield is notorious for leaking, and we've got a job of work to get all this fixed up. So that'll be a few days worth of work to get that done once we get there. Again, the factory botanical garden option, I'm undecided if we're going to restore that or not. In my fantasy life, which never comes true, I would think we could be possibly setting the motor and transmission in this car yet this year. That's probably pretty delusional. On the other hand, when you consider where this car was in 2019 when I brought it here, I only did some work on the roof, and then it sat until 2020. And it wasn't early in 2020 that I really started getting after doing the fabricating in the back end of the car. We've made a lot of progress since basically 21 on this car. So yes, it's 24 now. I consider it to be 2 years of work to get this thing from a completely boned out piece of garbage to what it is today. I love you guys, but I'm not letting my good coffee get cold. I'm just saying. My buddy was up from Indiana the other day, and he hadn't seen the car for a while. It's been a couple of years since he saw it. And he just kept shaking his head. He said, I can't believe how far you've come with it. He said, and the fact that I've hand built it all. He was just blown away by that. I had some other guys here earlier this year. A guy that he watches the channel all the time. He's a local guy. He saw it when I pulled it out from my buddy Dave's house. He hadn't seen the car at all except for on the channel. And he was out here a while ago. I think it was the day we got a truckload of transmissions. Anyway, he was out and looked at it. He said, I couldn't even believe it's the same car. Yeah, it may not be the way that other people would do it, but I'm not other people. I don't have deep pockets. I have a specific set of skills that make me a nightmare for a car like this. I really wanted to use this car to showcase what you can do if you're just too stupid to know any better. And I know I get flamed for it. You guys see it all the time. But those who are here on the channel really do get the point of this, is that you don't have to have deep pockets to take a fairly reasonably valuable car that nobody else would probably touch anyway and turn it into something that's really beautiful. We have less than $3,000 in this car with everything that we have to make it a driving car. That includes what I paid for the car. That includes the motor, the 4-speed transmission, the 4-speed clutch pedal that I didn't have, all the dash components, the rear bumper, the tail lights. Wow. Etc. The only thing I'm really lacking for the car is an RT hood, a grille, and headlight bezels, front bumper and front bumper brackets, and I can make the brackets. There's going to be other little things, of course, but we have an 8 3/4 rear end with a 323 posi, because I like to put a posi in my Chally. That really inflames E-body guys and Mopar guys. We got the A833 4-speed. I've got a 72 440 that's supposed to run. I've never fired it up. We'll be doing that soon. I won't say soon, but we'll be getting that on a run stand and firing it up probably before we put it in the car. We might pop the pan to check it out. I do need a set of motor mounts. I got to look upstairs and see if I have any big block mounts. Oh, and I'm lacking a 4-speed bell housing for a big block. I've got 4 or 5 small block bell housings, but I don't have any big block bell housings except for the Lakewood. The Lakewood I want to keep and use in the Golden Mullet because we're doing that 413 punched out to 426 with a 671 blower and an A833 4-speed that I have for that car as well. So big progress, that's for sure. We've come a long way, baby. At the end of the day, you're the only person that has to be happy with what you've done. Make it safe, make it done, and go have fun. I know so many cars that are sitting, not moving forward because people feel like they can't afford to do the work. People feel like they don't have good enough skills to do the work. People feel like they don't have time to do the work, but they have a standard of perfection that is just completely unrealistic. Perfectionism is one of the most paralyzing things on the planet. I believe in doing things with excellence. I believe in doing things in context that are good enough, as long as it's safe and as long as it's done so that you can have fun. So that's where we're at with the project. What's coming, I really want to get the suspension back under this car. We have everything for that except for, like new suspension bushings and stuff like that. We can hopefully be able to pick those up. Get the rear end under the car. I still need to make the decision on whether I'm putting the E-body housing in it or the B-body housing. I'm leaning toward the B-body housing. We're putting the same wheels and tires that the Charger has. So at some point, we're going to want to bring the Charger over and pull those wheels and tires off and get them bolted on this car. I think the B-body housing, which is about 2 inches narrower, is going to be the better choice for this car. We'll see. I don't know. Those are some big tires on the back of that car. So that's where we're at. What's coming with this car is just going to be continuing to take little bites at a time and move forward. The channel growth has just been incredible. I appreciate every single one of you guys that are here. All of your support, as I said earlier, all of your encouragement. There's so often that you guys will send me an email, or if you know me better, some of you got my number, you shoot me a text, you drop comments, you post over in the Facebook groups or on the Facebook page, and you just continue to encourage. For every criticism I get, I probably get 100 encouragements. So if I talk about the criticisms, it's not because I'm complaining about people are picking on me, because that's not it at all. I talk about it to say, yeah, I get that crap too. I know you guys get that crap. And we can ignore that and move on. Just know that you're not alone. That's my point. All right, that's going to do it. I hope this has been mildly interesting. I apologize that we're not able to get some hands-on stuff done today. But like I said, I'm still feeling under the weather. And I need to go and just lay on my bed and edit some video and try to put together something kind of creative that you guys might find interesting with this. Plus, I have a couple other episodes in the queue that I need to get edited and get out there on YouTube. So that'll do it. Lots more coming here for sure. As soon as I'm back on my feet, we are going to get the paint sprayed on that truck. I probably keep saying that, I know, but I promise it's going to happen. But my car shop is all about spending the day doing whatever it is we're doing, and this is the reality of a DIY shop. You can't force stuff to happen. Working on projects cars is a lot like a fart. You don't want to push hard. You might end up with a bunch of crap. Rawr!